Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Yes, we're back.
Hello, hello.
And we're back. I keep thinking of that stupid ass freaking SNL bit.
And we're back.
Yes, exactly. That shit gets stuck in my sleep. I hear it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Anyways, completely off track. Welcome to Wildcard Cinema, episode 6. I'm your producer here, JJAlexander. Joining me are my co-hosts, Greg and Mark. How's it going, guys?
What's up? Going good.
Hello, hello.
How's everyone's week going?
Not too bad. I'm on my third attempt to get a better microphone. I've purchased 2 headsets with like professional kind of like microphones.
Yeah.
And they both don't work.
Damn.
They sound worse than this. So.
Wow. I'll have to help you out there.
Okay, yeah, I went to Walmart, got a nice one for an okay price. Didn't work. Sounded like it was in the next room.
Yeah.
And then I went to Five Below. I'm like, well, I might as well try this. And that was a little bit better, but not.
See, that's weird because like this headset, I got a Five Below.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
That doesn't have a microphone on it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, see, that's the problem. The headphones work fine. It's the mic. I want a better mic.
Okay. Yeah, I can help you out with that. That won't be a problem. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, just a hectic week. In my my industry, it's buy-in week. So
Oh, yeah, that's right. End of the month, post off. Yep.
end of the month. Yeah, and I'm leaving for Philadelphia tomorrow, right after my meeting. So I got to have everything wrapped up tonight before I leave at 7 a.m. So
Lucky.
Oh, wow.
Wish I was going to Philly.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm still stuck here because so I had to put the bike in the shop because of everything going on, and the dude had to put a new carburetor on it. And I got it back from him. He was like, "Well, I'm not happy with it, but it's running." He's like, "Yeah, you got to give it a little throttle to start it on a cold morning." I'm like, "I can deal with that. That's no problem. I'm completely fine." Took it out for a ride well. It was just like, it's a little louder now than it was before because it's got a different air filter on it. I'm like, whatever, I can deal with that. That's fine. I go out for a cruise 2 nights later. I was like, I need to clear my head. I go out for a ride at 11 o'clock. I'm going up the hill by ESPN, and all of a sudden, and I'm revving, but I'm not going anywhere. And then I start going backwards because the drive belt snapped.
Oh no.
So I was sitting there, like pulled back in an industrial park, trying to fucking contact someone at 11:30 at night so I had a friend come down from Torrington with a pickup truck to put the bike into the pickup truck to get it back to the house. And my guy that works on it has had I think he's had COVID or something all week, so he's been quarantining.
Oh man, sorry.
Like, I just fixed this shit. It's like I bought this thing off the showroom brand new last year, and I've already had to replace the cylinder head, the carburetor, and now half the clutch.
Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, luckily the parts are cheap, but it's just it's a matter of it's going to be cold soon, and I'm not going to be able to take it out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that's just my problems. First world problems. I don't have transportation.
Beat me to it.
So I will be drinking later on in the broadcast. But for those of you who are returning, once again, thank you. For those of you who are new, who have stumbled upon us, we are a movie review centric podcast. What we do is we have a smattering of movies that we have chosen that we throw in a hat or a bowl or a goblet or whatever. And every other week, we draw a movie at random and we watch each other's movies. And when we come back, we give our thoughts on them, we give our reviews on them, and it is up to the person who chose the movie to let everyone know at the beginning or the end of the review why they chose the movie. Because it could be for a plethora of reasons. This isn't just one of those typical, I love this movie and I want to talk about it, because that gets boring after a while. So, yeah. Also, for those of you who are new, please click on all the little stuff down below, the like button and the subscribe button. There's links to our socials in there. There's links to our Facebook page, to our Letterboxd page, all that stuff. It would be nice to get some follows and all of that, keep building the channel. So that way, I can, be able to do stuff and, be able to pay the bills. And speaking of paying the bills, so I might get this out right away. Sorry. This episode of Wildcard Cinema is brought to you by our good friends at EpicShirts.ca. They are a Canadian-based apparel company where you can find a plethora of smatterings of clothes. I keep saying smatterings, I don't know why, but for your average other place, if you got a friend that's it's the holidays are coming up. You got a friend that likes Cobra Kai, but you don't want to pay $50 for a shirt. Well, look, they got that. And you ain't got to pay as much. You like to see Rocky. You just saw Rocky. You got a box of jujubes jammed up your ass. You got to run. You got a niece or nephew that's a gamer. You can get him a gamer themed shirt. You got a friend that loves whiskey. They got whiskey themed shirts. They got all that stuff. You got a horror fan. They got a ton of 3D printed horror shirts. They're worth it. And if you go to their site, using the link below or the link in wherever you're watching this, or if you go to the site and you use the code Full Circle Radio, all one word at checkout, you get 10% off your order. That's every order, not just your first one. So go show them some love. It shows us some love. It helps us keep things going. That's EpicShirts.ca. We don't just make shirts. We make epic shirts. Okay. Bills are paid. Before we actually get into the movies, as always, would just like to say, spoilers ahead for everything we talk about. So I'm going to opt to go last today. So how about, yeah, exactly. Because I know Mark poker face. So, how about we start off with yours this week, Greg?
Sure.
All right. So what was your choice last time we pulled?
Woody Allen's Everything You've Always Wanted to Know About Sex, but Were Afraid to Ask.
All right, and away we go.
Everything you always wanted to know about sex, but were afraid to ask. If you want to know how this man made a movie out of this book.
Brain room. Come in, motor function 12.
Scratch the left leg.
The leg has been scratched.
Brain to stomach, brain to stomach.
Stomach to brain. Over.
Food coming down.
What kind?
Fettuccine.
Italian food coming down. Bring me my food.
Good evening, Your Majesty. It's great to be back here at the palace. You know what the palace is? That's 24 living rooms and a dungeon.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God. Ah! 'Tis the chastity belt that the jealous king hath fastened on me, that no man but him shallst have the goods of the body.
It's a bad break for all of us here at the palace.
My God! She's my husband!
What seems to be the trouble?
I am in love with a sheep.
I beg your pardon?
You have a very, very fascinating fetish.
That's what they called me at Matthews and Johnson's clinic. Mad. Because I had visions of explorations in sexual areas undreamed of by lesser human beings. It was I who first discovered how to make a man impotent by hiding his hat.
I think it could work if we gave it a chance.
Don't you think you should be ashamed of this?
It's most distasteful in view of the fact that the sheep was under 18 years old.
So what?
You've been a naughty rabbi.
Blasphemy!
Hey, we're gonna make babies!
If you want to know how Woody Allen made a movie out of this book, you'll have to see the movie.
All right, so everything you always wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask was released in 1972, written and directed by Woody Allen, starring Woody Allen, John Carradine, Tony Randall, Burt Reynolds, and Gene Wilder. Had a budget of $2 million, and its box office return was $18 million. Dealer's choice, Greg. Are you going to tell us at the beginning and the end why you chose this movie?
I've actually grappled back and forth with that. But I actually do think it might be important to start off with a something beforehand. So I guess I'll do that.
Okay.
First, let me address the elephant in the room. Why would I pick a movie by Woody Allen? Period.
I'm glad you said it.
Period. Why would I pick a movie by Woody Allen? Period. Especially one that has to do with sex.
Yeah.
You know, double whammy. So, I think I talked about this before on the podcast. I had like the Blockbuster equivalent to Netflix when they were trying to still compete with like Netflix. They gave you a subscription for a month and you get to rent a movie every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood Video had the MVP program. It was the same thing. Yeah.
So one of my summers in college when I was really getting into movies, in a way deeper way than just like I did as a kid, I was kind of looking at like, well, what should I watch to like broaden my horizons? And, I think one of the more prolific singular directors was Woody Allen. So, I just started watching every one of his movies from the start to, become current in a summer. So I did pretty much that along other things. I think I pretty much got a movie every single day. I'd work, I'd go to Blockbuster, I'd go home, I'd watch a movie at night. It was pretty much my entire summer. I wrote it all down. I talked about it. I kind of invented Letterboxd before it was a thing. So, but on the backs of that, I saw this movie when I was like, or parts of it, late night on TV when my dad and his second wife were out at night. They asked one of their friends' kids to watch me, and my brothers were asleep. They both let me stay up. These guys were only like, I don't know, I might have been 13, maybe 12. These guys were like 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
One of his friends came over, brought like 4 Rolling Rocks. Granted, they're not 21. My dad came in and was like, what the fuck are these? Like, oh, we're just having a few rocks, no big deal. My dad's like, no big deal. Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyways, I digress. This movie was on, and I think I've also talked about this, like maybe last episode or the episode before, like anything with sex in that time, like just burned into my brain, seared into it. Yeah. It's like, it's funny because this and Amazon Women in the Moon, that was also the one I was talking about with sex, but they're both similar style movies. You can kind of just pick them up and go. Yeah. Anthology little skits. So I've always liked this movie. I bought it on Blu-ray when Twilight Time reissued it, or even issued it. I don't think it was even on Blu-ray before then. And I'm actually a pretty big fan of a lot of Woody Allen stuff. Now, I think I can separate artists from art a little bit. And again, like, a lot of the stories and the stuff, allegations are terrible. And it's like, I'm not one to like not believe anyone. That's not my thing. But like I said, I can separate it. I can understand no one ever making a Woody Allen movie ever again, or no one ever working with the guy. I totally get that. But hey, he's got this legacy of, amazing filmography that is has tears, to say the least. I mean, he's got some really, really masterful, works, and a lot of them that are not masterful or even any that good. But when you write and direct a movie once a year for about 35 years, which is like pretty insane, you're going to have duds and you're going to have things that don't totally work. Quite honestly, I mean, this movie and how it handles sex and his, alleged past, this is not even the most problematic movie of his.
Really?
By a long shot.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's got stuff in, like, I can't even remember which movies exactly, but he's got stuff in movies where he's like I think at the time he's probably like 47 years old when he makes it, and his character is about 47 years old, and his girlfriend's 16 or 17 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, and back then I think people were just like, hey, maybe she was emancipated from her parents, or maybe they were cool with it or something. It's like, it's like the Elvis and Priscilla whole thing. It's sort of similar to that. I mean, some parents allowed this stuff to happen, which is, mind blowing today. It's ridiculous, but it happened. So I really grappled with.
I'll tell you one parent who didn't let this happen. That would be Mia Farrow.
Oh, yes.
Because he was having an affair with his own stepdaughter when she was in her teens, and he was in his 50s.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's pretty terrible. I mean, it's weird. Like I probably ignorantly look at that relationship as like, well, they're still together, so, I kind of rationalize it a little bit, but again, I'm not in the business of rationalizing anything. It is what it is. Like it's awful. I mean, it is totally awful. So regardless, I digress again. I grappled with choosing this, and I actually almost chose a different movie of his. And then it's funny. I watched a documentary that you guys might have seen that came out recently. It's Remembering Gene Wilder.
I haven't watched it yet, but
okay,
yeah,
highly recommend it. It's not.
I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a. You're not going to find anybody talking bad about Gene Wilder. I mean, they definitely. It's a totally rose-colored portrait, which maybe he was the most amazing man of all time. I have no idea, but it really digs into his career and where he got his breaks and what he was willing to do at certain points of his career. And this movie, for him to take this role and do this at his point of his career, takes huge cojones. I mean, this thing, like, I don't think they could have. I bet a lot of actors wouldn't even have touched this or even considered doing this. And he plays this role in this segment. He plays it completely straight, completely earnest. He's amazing. And they're not even shy to still touch on it, because it's actually a pretty large, not large. That's a little bit too exaggerated, but it's a pretty substantial part of his, of his documentary. It's not like it's brushed upon or it's mentioned. No, they talk about it. And, at that point, I just decided, hey, if anything else, this needs to be seen by people who haven't seen it, that specifically. Mm-hmm. Now, I do think a lot of it is, pretty funny, and some of it doesn't work. It's a little bit like Amazon Women on the Moon also, some of it just doesn't work the same or as well, but there are some segments that are really, really good, really funny. This was his biggest budget movie at the time. Do
you know what he did before this? I should have looked that up.
Yeah, Take the Money and Run.
Yeah. Because I have a bit of trivia about that.
I think I actually read the same thing you did. I think Bananas might be before this. I'm not.
Yeah,
positive.
I think Bananas was.
Okay, not a favorite of mine. I know a lot of people like it. Having yeah. I mean, I think it was. I think this might be his fifth or sixth movie. I don't. It might be earlier, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, actually had $2 million to work with. Never did before. It turned a pretty good profit, which is, it's not. I wouldn't say this movie is, anything crazy edgy for the time. Maybe a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought, grab the bull by the horns, introduce it into everyone. Let everyone share their opinion of the whole entire, Woody Allen of it all. Because, hey, there's
interesting
plenty
discussion.
Plenty of artists we can discuss that have done, not great things and pretty despicable things.
All right. Okay. So the synopsis of this film was 7 segments related to one another, only in that they all purport to be based on sections of the book by David Rubin. The segments range from Do Aphrodisiacs Work, in which a court jester gives an aphrodisiac to the queen and is in the end beheaded, to What Happens During Ejaculation, which is in which we watch Control Central during an unsuccessful seduction. Sorry. I've seen, I hadn't seen the movie before, but I had seen the What Happens During Ejaculation scene, because that's gotten referenced so many times in different TV series about stuff for some reason, where they talk about movies, they always bring that scene up.
Well, while we're on that segment, and I like to have even a 3-way talk on certain segments. That's R-rated Inside Out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see.
So the people that made Inside Out had to have seen that.
So I would have to say that in general, I'm not a Woody Allen fan. I went into this movie with blank slate, and I still didn't like it.
Yeah, listen. Allen is a
acquired taste.
It's not even acquired taste. It's almost a taste of its time. If you really, if you watch his stuff that's heralded, if you're not almost living in that time, it's sort of hard to.
The only time I chuckled during this movie was during What Happens in Ejaculation, when the black sperm turns and goes, "What the hell am I doing here?" That was the only time I chuckled.
That's one more chuckle than I got out of the whole movie.
Yeah, so you guys aren't fans. Yeah, listen, like I said, I rewatched it. This is probably the 4th full time I've watched it in my adult life. Is it a laugh out loud? No, I think the control room stuff is pretty funny. The French New Wave, whatever, he's mocking French New Wave, or
Italian cinema.
Italian.
Oh, okay, it's Italian. Okay.
Yeah, dude. Woody Allen playing an Italian offended me. I was genuinely offended, and all I could think of was the fucking Robert Evans fucking autobiography. When Robert Evans talked about trying to produce The Godfather and how they said gangster pictures never work, and he said the reason gangster pictures never worked before he made The Godfather was because all the time in movies, Italians were played by Jews.
Yeah, Allen as an actor is also a fascinating thing in his films. It doesn't work all the time, and he tries to make it work all the time in the old movies. And then he took surrogates for himself and put them in them, and then they worked to differing levels. He put Larry David in a movie, which obviously Larry David and Woody Allen, there's similar kind of comedy,
dry humor,
and self-deprecating and all that stuff, and that kind of works. But then he makes a movie, and I forget the name of it, but it stars Jason Biggs as his surrogate, and it just doesn't work. Yeah, it just doesn't work at all. So it's it's very strange. I think.
Listen, Jason Biggs hasn't done all bad stuff.
I'm not saying he's done bad stuff. I'm saying him of all people.
It's weird. I do think Allen is a kind of guy where it's 70s. Yeah. If you were alive in the 70s watching stuff, you were probably loving all of it. 80s, a little bit lesser to an extent. He hits the 90s, and at that point, his career only has 3 movies worth watching after that, in my opinion.
Wow.
One of them is Match Point, which is an excellent movie and probably the most unlike any of his movies. But yeah, no, I can see if you guys, I could get you guys not digging it.
Yeah. One thing I took away from this movie was I saw certain bits and like I had similar notes as I was watching it, realizing that other people have watched this movie and taken bits from it and made them better.
Really? Like
because I said first note, I said the chastity belt routine was way better in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yep, that is.
And the giant boob was done way better by Adam Green and Chillerama with the giant sperm.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen that, but
that's a horror comedy anthology that is worth watching every fucking year. And the opening segment is about a giant sperm taking over New York, and it's like it's like the giant boob, except they did it better. But yeah, like those were the things I noticed. But I was just like, yeah, the entire Italian bit, I was just so fucking offended, and I was like sitting there, I was like everyone tells me it's like, oh yeah, you had Woody Allen humor, not everyone's gonna get it. But I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh look, get it? They're in the Vatican, so it's sacrilegious. Laugh now. I'm like, no. And what pissed me off was the digital copy I have for some reason, no matter what subtitles like file that I used, it was off on the timing.
Yeah.
I was pissed.
I guess the benefit of owning it.
I wouldn't pay for this. Yeah, and just certain things like the cross-dressing husband bit, like when he's outside, like he falls out the window and he's outside, and I'm like, why would you run down the street instead of just going around and finding the back door of the fucking house? Because that's just like,
that's we have a Wild Card Cinema returning character actor with Lou Jacoby, who also played Murray in Amazon Women on the Moon.
Yes.
Yep. It's funny. My only note about that segment was the chapter title is "Are Trans People Homosexual?"
Yeah. Well, it said are cross-dressers homosexuals?
No, transvestites.
Oh, transvestites. That's
the term they use.
What I meant.
But that was my other note. He's not a transvestite. He's a cross-dresser.
Right. There's a difference.
Yeah, the term transvestite is now it's considered outdated and derogatory, but it's been replaced with cross-dresser now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So,
I think that's the same as. Is that the same as Rocky Horror Picture Show? That's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. But the thing was, in Rocky Horror, the transvestites were the name of the alien race.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yes. Yeah. Very convoluted.
Yeah. I mean, you could like, this is one of those movies that like, because so many terms are outdated, like this would be one of those, they couldn't make this movie today movies just because of the language in it and how things have evolved and how it's everything's outdated. It's not a matter of wokeness. It's a matter of being outdated.
Well, I guess, yeah, I guess the book itself would be outdated at that point.
Oh,
right. Right. And that's actually one of the notes I wanted to bring up. So Woody Allen saw Dr. Rubin promoting the book on the Johnny Carson show in 1969. And when Johnny Carson asked the doctor, "Is sex dirty?" Rubin replied, "It is if you're doing it right," which is a line from Woody Allen's Take the Money and Run. The only reason Woody Allen made this movie is because he was so offended at Dr. Rubin using his jokes. So he made this movie just to fucking spite him. And Dr. Rubin hated the movie because literally besides the title, it basically has nothing to do with the book.
The title and the chapter names. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Which is a pretty good idea. When you're going to take something and just do something completely, try to be comedic.
Oh man! All right. Well, let me share a couple of my notes here.
Yeah.
The first thing I wrote, I put, Joe, I bet you just loved the opening credit sequence to this. What with all
fucking
your
hate rabbits? That was my first note.
Rabbits.
That was my first note. I fucking hate rabbits.
There's more rabbits to come. You'll see.
I actually had a note about that. Have you guys seen The Favorite?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so it won't make sense now, but I had two things I wrote. I think the opening of this movie is the ending of The Favorite. And then I wrote at the end, when I must have forgotten I wrote that note, I think Yorgos Lanthimos took the bunny ending for the ending of The Favorite.
Oh, okay.
And who knows, maybe Michael Cimino was inspired for his scene in the movie we're going to talk about a little bit later too. Yeah, this movie just creeped me out.
Yeah.
On every level. It's like, it's a sex comedy made by one of the most notorious perverts of the 20th century. It just everything came off as weird. Mm-hmm. And at one point I'm like, is this movie a cry for help? Like, is he trying to warn us what was gonna happen?
He was trying to warn us 20 years before he got caught.
I mean, you know, the chapter of this movie where the doctor Gene Wilder falls in love with his sheep, and all that stuff. That I was like, I kind of feel like that's Woody Allen saying, "Hey guys, you know, that stuff like this isn't too far out of my ballpark." You know what I'm saying? Like, it just felt weird, and I mean, the aphrodisiac, with the court jester scene,
like
to listen to Woody Allen
doing stand-up.
No, this line that he says, he goes, "With most grievous dispatch, I will open the latch and get to her snatch."
Yeah.
Ugh, you guys. Yuck, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like that. I actually thought the aphrodisiac part was the worst part of the movie based on what we know of him. And it's almost like if Bill Cosby had made this movie.
Yes.
Because he always did like the Spanish fly act in his stand-up. Yep. It's like, dude, like, you're telling everybody that you're drugging women. Like,
they fucking aped that on Family Guy when they put Bill Cosby in The Princess Bride. He's like, one of these glasses contains the iocane powder, and the other one contains the stuff that you drink and it makes you go sleepy by.
Well, at least I'm actually happy I let off with why I chose it now, because, you know, it does obviously ring very, very strange. And I think if I hadn't seen the Gene Wilder documentary, I might have veered left instead of right, or either, which other way you want to say.
Well, Woody Allen's proclivities aren't the only thing that makes this movie creepy. He was married to Louise Lasser in real life, and she is the woman in the Italian cinema spoof.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there watching him literally groping all over his real life ex-wife on camera, and then I'm like, oh god, they're still doing it. Oh my god, now what are they doing? This isn't just two actors performing a scene. There's some straight up real life baggage that comes with what we're watching, and I found that very off-putting.
That was like, there was, I forget the name of the movie, but I remember hearing about it on like a radio broadcast they were talking about. There was some movie that was being filmed in the early 90s with that Madonna and Judd Nelson were in together. Mm-hmm. And they actually had to stop because they were filming a sex scene for the movie, and they had to stop and scrap it because they were actually having sex in the fucking bed. And they were just like, wait, we can't use this.
Yeah. Oof. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I tried. I was just like, I'm not laughing, and I kept getting these bad flashbacks to. It was like it was weird because it was a parallel to that scene near the end of the documentary, the people versus George Lucas, where it's the puppet talking, and he's like, every time I think of George Lucas, I think of Captain. I think of Disneyland. I think of Captain EO. When I think of Captain EO, I think of Disneyland. When I think of Disneyland, I think of Michael Jackson. So when I think of George Lucas and I think of Michael Jackson, and I think of my childhood, oh God, no. And that because of the fact that growing up, and I'm sure that there was no correlation, but in my fucked up brain there was. My pediatrician was a huge fucking Woody Allen fan, to the point where he had like sketches of Woody Allen in like every examine room. Like it was like a famous drawing where it was like it was a W and the two O's were his glasses and the DY with his hairline. And it's just Woody on the fucking wall. And I'm like, and my doctor kind of looked like Woody Allen. And I'm sure it was just because he was a fan and because he was, Jewish, but
For a pediatrician, that's red flag city, dude.
I mean, he was my pediatrician in the 80s. This shit didn't come out to the 90s, so he was retired by then. But yeah, that's the correlation I have in my brain as I'm sitting here thinking, I can't get through this movie without thinking about, oh shit, this ain't good. Yeah, just no, it wasn't this was not a good. This was a dud for me.
Well, I gotta say, I don't think I bring anything worse to the table the rest of the season. And
you never know.
No, I mean, I don't think so. And I also know it's definitely nothing as baggage heavy going forward.
Good to know.
Yeah. Just a couple other notes I had here. An August 1972 review by Time said that many of the film's ideas sound good on paper, but that the skits wind down rather than take off from the ideas.
Yeah, some of them just end.
Yeah, they said the film includes some broad, funny setups of other movies like Fantastic Voyage or La Notte, and its fair share of memorably wacky lines, but that overall it's just Woody marking time and being merely a little funnier. And the film was banned in Ireland on March 20th, 1973. A cut version was passed in 1979 and released theatrically in 80 that removed the bestiality reference and the man having sex with the loaf of rye bread. The ban on the uncut version was eventually lifted sometime in the early 2000s. But, that's Ireland. Ireland had oral sex was outlawed in Ireland until 1996. So...
Did not know that.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. When they finally, it wasn't outlawed anymore. Dennis Leary used to talk about that. He's like, this Ireland, we just outlawed it. We only allow 5 blowjobs a year, and they all go to Michael Flatley. But yeah, I'm yet to find a Woody Allen movie I enjoy. And
there's a couple. I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but I liked Annie Hall, and I liked Purple Rose of Cairo.
I also like Purple Rose of Cairo, and Annie Hall's okay. A little, I think, overrated. I mean, won Best Picture. So I don't know,
but that, Greg, you brought up a good topic, which is separating the artist from the art.
Yeah,
and I have to do that with one of my favorite films of all time, which is Chinatown.
Oh, I was gonna say, let me guess.
Roman Polanski. And in this case, there is no question about his guilt or his kind of a gray area. No. He's what the kids nowadays refer to as a PDF file. It's a fact. And I have to deal with that every time I watch Chinatown.
It's so weird because Nicholson is still good friends with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember he got the standing ovation at the Oscars when he won, even though he couldn't come back. And it's dude, what are you doing? It's gross.
It's the Hollywood cabal.
I mean, you're right. Separate art from artists. He's without a doubt, completely guilty. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So it's it's tough. That must be tough. And I got to be honest. I'll admit something right now without. I know we like to keep our poker faces, but I've never even seen a Roman Polanski movie. I mean,
You've never seen Rosemary's Baby?
Nope, and I know it's obviously I need to. I just haven't yet, and I do want to see Chinatown. I've been wanting to see it for a long time, but I actually both of those, But yeah, I've never seen a Polanski movie.
Just make sure you watch it if you're good. Don't watch the sequel to Chinatown if you haven't watched Chinatown.
Oh, I like the Two Jakes.
I like the Two Jakes too, but it's not the
I won't watch Apartment 7A dropping tomorrow before Rosemary's Baby.
I saw the trailer for that series.
Oh yeah, that's the prequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Prequel with Julia Garner, who we touched on last episode.
I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I heard she's really good in it, but it just doesn't offer much of anything.
See, I got a little offset because they played a little bit on Rosemary's Baby in the last season of American Horror Story.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
and it I'm sorry, but it was shoehorned in because the whole story was like a Rosemary's Baby situation, but they shoehorned in the actual filming of the movie in it, basically saying this cabal of fucking demon worshiping fucking sorceresses was behind that movie too, and just shoehorning Kim Kardashian into a scene with a fake Mia Farrow and a fake Frank Sinatra really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Especially because they got the details completely wrong. And I was sitting there at my friend Shell's house yelling at the fucking TV. I was like, that's not how this happened.
Yeah, my closest experience with Polanski is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So other than that, I gotta say I'm clueless.
Rosemary's Baby, it's a classic. It is worth watching, and just you need to realize that it was like so, and like Polanski directed it, yes, but the story was written by someone completely different, and it was Robert Evans' choice to bring in Polanski to do it. And it's because he basically made a bet with Polanski on it, because Polanski thought he was coming in to direct Downhill Racer because he likes skiing, and so Robert Evans said, "Read this script. If you don't like it, I will give you an all expense paid trip to any ski resort in the world." And Polanski read it and he was like, "Shit, this is good. I'll do it."
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it at some point. In fact, I'm doing Hooptober this year. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It's you watch 31 horror movies from.
I do it every year.
Oh, you do? Okay.
No, yeah, so do I. I didn't know it was called that though. I just do it.
No. Yeah, no, it's a Letterboxd challenge. You watch 31 horror movies in like 6 weeks, and but they have all these criteria, so you have to plan it out.
I just make my choices.
So you have to plan it out. So like, there's like you have to watch 4 Italian horror movies. You have to watch 2 Indian horror movies. You have to watch one, starring a black woman, and like But I planned it all out. So if I'm able to like reconfigure something to fit Rosemary's Baby in there, I probably will.
Yeah. No, last year my whole month was I did 31 days of horror anthologies.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This year because Corman died, I'm doing 31 days of Roger Corman movies.
Cool.
So you still follow a criteria, just a broader one.
Yeah. Yeah. The first couple of years I did it. It was just like pick at random each day.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'll send you my list. Just so
okay, cool.
I tried to pick most things I haven't watched before, but there's a couple I've seen.
Gotcha. All right, so let's move right along then. So Mark, you're up. What was the movie that you pulled?
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
All right, away we go.
Let each of us study to improve ourselves.
Hey, come back here in my car!
Which way are we headed? We're good together.
You're 10 years too late.
You stick with me, kid. You're gonna live forever.
Brought back some extra goodies.
Are you out of your mind?
Hang on!
Geronimo!
Now, do you want to talk or do you want to play games?
Why not do it again?
What's he mouthing off about now?
Montana Armor. We hit the same place, the same way.
There it is.
That's it?
20mm cannon with armor-piercing shells. At exactly 10:30, Goody, you're going to drop Lightfoot off in the alley behind the Liberty Lounge. The window's already been fixed, so you can just climb right in there and change your clothes. At 11:30, you get in the telegraph office, and you got to get in there before 11:35, because that's when the alarm goes off. You just keep quiet and nobody gets hurt, understand?
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. That sounds like something, doesn't it?
All right, where was I? I pulled up the wrong thing. There we go. So Thunderbolt and Lightfoot was released in 1974, was written and directed by Michael Cimino, starring Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges, George Kennedy, and a cameo by a young Gary Busey. On a budget of $4 million in the U.S., it brought in $25 million on return. The synopsis is 7 years after doing a bank robbery involving an anti-tank gun used to blow open a vault, the robbery team temporarily puts aside their mutual suspicions to repeat the crime after they are unable to find the loot from the original heist, hidden behind a school chalkboard. The hardened artilleryman and his flippant, irresponsible young sidekick are the two wild cards in the deck of jokers. All right. Dealer's choice, Mark. Beginning or end? Why'd you choose this movie?
I'm going to tell you at the beginning.
Okay.
So, I first heard of this film when I was in my early 20s from a 2003 documentary called A Decade Under the Influence, which is a documentary examining the decade of the 1970s as a turning point in American cinema. And the film, the documentary featured scenes from this film, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. And it looked so interesting to me that I immediately sought it out. And since then, it's been one of my favorite films. And I haven't watched it in a while. And I realized that I've never had a conversation with another human being about this film. It's just one of those movies that nobody I know has ever seen. And I wanted to talk about it. So,
which is weird because Jeff Bridges won a fucking Oscar for this movie.
He did?
He won Best Supporting Actor for this movie.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I didn't.
Oh, holy shit!
I didn't know that. I can see it. I can see why. He's killer in this.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it, and I actually got confused at first when I was pulling shit about. I was like, "Oh, I get to watch a movie with an orangutan." Oh, wait, that was Every Which Way But Loose.
No,
wrong Eastwood movie.
Wrong Eastwood movie, dude.
But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. Mark, can I ask you a question about that documentary?
Yes.
So I might be totally out of left field. I've also never seen this movie I'm about to ask about, but is the prime basis of that documentary Easy Rider?
It's in there.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Yep. No, I was just curious because I get the vibe. I get the vibe. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I definitely. I didn't have a lot of notes on this just because I liked. I was just enjoying myself watching it. You can see that. I don't know if he's ever outright come out and said it, but I could see this movie as a big influence on a lot of things Tarantino did later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It felt like it, and just like I wanted to say it's a nice old fashioned like buddy heist movie, but it's not old fashioned. This was just what it was. It was the 70s.
Yeah.
It's certainly a hangout movie at times.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, but I actually pulled up some stuff about the relationship between Eastwood and Bridges on the film.
Oh, really?
Oh,
no.
Yes.
I can't wait. Let's go.
Yeah. Let me see here. Which one was it? So let me see here. Decided to give them. Oh, well, just to start off, I'll just read up because I'm not like I've got a few blurbs here. So originally, Eastwood wanted to direct this movie. After reading the screenplay, he liked it so much he wanted to direct it, but he met Michael Cimino, the man who wrote it, and decided to give him the directing job instead, giving Cimino his big break and his feature film directorial debut. This is the first one he did, and Cimino later said that if it wasn't for Eastwood, he would have never had a career in film. So
that would have been a shame.
Yeah, I mean, if Eastwood had directed this, I don't think it would have turned out much different. But it's just it was good that he just saw the dude and it was just like you know what you're doing. This is your baby, go for it. The film did respectable box office, and the studio profited, but Clint Eastwood vowed to never work with United Artists again due to what he felt was bad promotion. According to Mark Elgett, Eastwood perceived himself as being upstaged by Bridges in this movie. He was like, they got along, but he felt that, he thought that he was supposed to be the star, and he thought that Bridges stole his spotlight a lot.
Yeah, well, Clint Eastwood just plays like Clint Eastwood. He's like, I gotta do this gig or whatever. And Jeff Bridges is the one who's on. He's playing a character. He's, you know what I'm saying? It's so. What did Eastwood expect?
Does Eastwood play anything else?
Yeah,
right. That's the thing. It's like, we can look back on his entire body of work now, and it's like it's Clint Eastwood playing Clint Eastwood. But in 1974, there wasn't a lot of Eastwood stuff out there. There was a couple of westerns and a couple of Dirty Harrys, I believe. Let me take a look here. Let me go through my references here, my movie collections to see the. Come on, load, fucker. There we go. Okay, 5 Dirty Harry films.
That's a lot. I didn't know there was 5.
Oh yeah. Of course, it's taken forever to load. I'll get back to that. But yeah, just my point being, Eastwood hadn't done a lot of stuff at that point yet. So like now we look back and we're like, yeah, he's pretty much always been Clint Eastwood in one way or another. No matter if it's Outlaw Jody Wales or if it's or if it's all the way up to Gran Torino. Like he's always what he is, and he's never had any addictions other than women. Dirty Harry had come out in 71 and Magnum Force had come out in 73.
Okay.
Yeah. And then he did, and then The Enforcer came out in 76. So it was shortly after this. So Dirty Harry had already been established. And I mean, he wasn't quite as gruff as he was in the Dirty Harry movies.
He's still grumpy.
Well, yeah.
He's still like,
It was interesting seeing him play in a preacher at the beginning. I was like, that's give him a little nuance. On top of Jeff Bridges, I thought George Kennedy had a hell of a lot of personality in this movie.
Yes, he's my favorite character in the whole movie, Red.
And I knew it was telegraphed right at the beginning when he was like when he was like wheezing and sneezing, and he's like, I have asthma and hay fever. I'm like, that's gonna come back to bite him in the ass somehow. Yeah, sure enough.
like in Pelham, taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
The sneeze will get you.
Yeah. Another note I have here is it's often noted for its homoerotic subtext.
I didn't get any of that.
In his 1981 book, The Celluloid Closet, film historian Vito Russo described the film as a homophobic buddy movie, overflowing with relationships that Hollywood would not allow to be portrayed as same-sex and sexual.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all.
I didn't get that at all.
I think it was so if you were to take certain scenes out of the movie, then you might see it like when they first meet, and then there's the cut where Jeff Bridges like finds 2 chicks and just drops one off at Clint Eastwood's hotel room and then comes back later. If you remove that bit and it just goes from them being buddies to this and that, and it doesn't break it up by them actually having sex with women, you might think otherwise. That's why they threw scenes like that in.
Okay, but they're in there. So
yeah, they're in there. So that's when you said the homoeroticism. I'm like, but wait, they have sex with those girls? Like, that's the first thing I thought of. Like, that's the most unhomoerotic thing.
Yeah,
sex with women.
I know, but it's
The only thing I'm looking at my notes right now. The only thing I had anybody could ever say that is about. I said the dude in the 70s could have won RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes. What did he say in the mirror? He's like, I'd date me.
It's like Donald Trump.
2 movies with cross-dressers this year.
Yeah.
We had 2 movies with cross-dressers this episode. Yep. Yeah. Cultural critic Peter Biskin wrote that the film is distinguished from its predecessors largely by the audacity in which it plays with the barely submerged homosexual element of the male friendship formula and by its frank and undisguised contempt for heterosexuality. Like, these are the things that I found. I'm so apparently in the 80s, they just wanted to make it like, Clint Eastwood's gay because he's a manly man. I don't know why.
Or maybe like movies like this just didn't like guys hanging out together just didn't exist. Like,
like
I don't know.
The 80s was the basically like the foray of the buddy cop movie.
Yeah, like Midnight Run and all that. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
48 hours and all that shit. Yeah.
The only difference is in this, they talk about their friendship a couple of times, which is a little unusual.
They share their feelings. That's why all these authors in the 80s said they're gay.
Yeah, they're like, hey man, I thought we were becoming friends. I thought that was kind of touching because that was That's something you see in a lot of movies. Usually it's just kind of unspoken because they're guys.
Yeah.
But that didn't make it homoerotic. It just made it honest.
I didn't see that at all. Yeah, because you're right. It's really Jeff Bridges' character who is like, hey, man, we're friends, I thought. Like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And like,
yeah,
you know,
the critics in the 80s said that if you're in an Eastwood movie, you can't talk about your feelings.
No,
okay.
They're way off.
Yes. They just want guns and
yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, it's a we're doing a bank heist. That's all we need. You don't need to be friends.
Okay.
But yeah, I just I dug this. I actually found out too that the old schoolhouse at the end was actually supposed to it was at one point it was set to be torn down, and there was a movement to have it preserved and moved from that spot in Montana to somewhere else. And apparently the funding fell through and it just ended up getting destroyed anyways. Because they wanted to save it because it was from this movie. Like that was the tourism bureau of the town wanted to save it just based on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, because they did most of the filming in Utah and Montana, right around where they saw that was actually around Warsaw, Montana, that they found all the scenes. And the part where he's driving the little the truck to ship the gun and everything, and it said Pinsky Brothers on the side. That was an actual business in the town in Montana. Really? So basically the guys that owned that plumbing company got free publicity from the movie.
That's cool.
Yeah. There was one part it's just I've watched too many movies and my mind is really warped. But the scene where Goody is playing the ice cream man, and he pulls up and the kid pulls up and tells him you're doing the route wrong. For some reason I had a flash. I'm like, is this movie about to turn into Assault on Precinct 13?
Oh yeah. It could have gone that way very easily. Because George Kennedy is a mean bastard.
Right. Yeah, I was just like, they're gonna blow this kid away.
But if you say, I wanted vanilla. Blam.
I tell you, it was there was genuine sadness at the end. Did I miss it, or what led to him? Did he get shot and was hiding it, or was it from the beating he took from George Kennedy?
George Kennedy beat him so severely.
That's what I thought.
He started having motor skill issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even right after they both get beat up, and George Kennedy really targets Jeff Bridges.
He does.
And Clint Eastwood wakes up and kind of slumps him up a little bit to take care of him a little. And he looks at his wound, his ears gushing blood, and he's like, oh my God, what did he do to you?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, and just the whole car chase, I was just like, this is kind of like Blues Brothers.
Yeah. A little bit.
But yeah, just all in all, it kept my attention the whole time. I didn't have any issue. The only issue I kind of had with it was, and really it wasn't an issue. It was the fact that you don't really find out the plot of what's going on until about 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Before that, it's all world building and character building, which in all honesty, it goes by quick enough where you're not worried about it. It also felt like a long ass Pontiac commercial, because he steals a Firebird and then they switch it out for a Le Mans. And
that's funny though, because what you say about it taking so long to get going. When I watched this time around, I was watching it not only from my perspective of this is a movie I like. I was also kind of watching it from you guys' perspective, or this perspective of a new person watching this. And after about a half hour, I was like, okay, I can see where if someone wasn't really into this, they might be kind of all right, checking their watch or whatever. But I'm glad you stuck with it and appreciated it. So.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that it because they filled that early spots with because it started off hot with that car chase and then the shooting and the shootout and everything, so it grabs you right away, and then but it's just you're sitting there and you're just are we ever gonna find out why these guys are chasing them? Okay, they finally got to it. All right. Okay, now we know. All right, that's cool. And then I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the cinematic Rube Goldberg to happen. I'm like, all right, something's gonna happen there. And like, so it's like, because like if you're paying attention, the second George Kennedy crashes, you know what's gonna fucking happen. Like, yep, that's where that comes back.
Yeah. That was quite a scene. Like his comeuppance. That's pretty gruesome. They don't show a lot, but you know what happens to him, and I mean he deserved it for sure. But damn.
And it was weird because for some reason I kept thinking Goody was being played by William H. Macy because he looked like the character Macy played in Boogie Nights.
Oh, okay. No, that's Juliette Lewis's dad.
Yeah, I know. But at the time I was just like, I was like, that's not William H. Macy. He just fucking looks like him. Then Gary Busey pre-head injury. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's a shame that he only had that one scene.
Yeah.
But I'll take it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts from you, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest, I wasn't crazy into it, but it's not the fault of the movie at all. It's me. It's me, definitely. I do like hangout movies and like kind of meandering stuff, but more present day, I have a little bit harder time with like stuff from like that time. That's why I asked Mark about Easy Rider, because I don't. Have you guys ever seen 5 Easy Pieces with Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. That's wait. I'm thinking of The Last Detail. I'm sorry, I haven't seen that one.
Okay, you probably would like it, but it wasn't a movie that like works for me. I've done some blind Criterion buys when they go on sale from once in a while.
Yeah,
and that was the only one I've ever bought where I was like, but everyone loves it. It's really me. It's not the movie. I can understand the appeal of this. I mean, I loved Jeff Bridges in this. I can see why he would win an Oscar. He was great.
Yeah.
I don't think Clint Eastwood works for me in general. Again, I haven't seen a ton of his stuff either. More of the later stuff, Gran Torino.
Yeah.
I avoided like $1 Million Baby because I knew the bait and switch of it all. And
yeah, that the ending of that movie got ruined by so many things that I never bothered watching it.
Yeah, like but I did. Most of my notes are just picking out like ridiculous things in it, which I guess I kind of enjoyed, even though they were ridiculous. Like I knew Jeff Bridges was stealing the car the minute he got into it.
Yeah.
The girls that they pick up, the girl comes into Clint Eastwood's room and is like, I just got out of bed and I didn't do that just to hop into yours. And like 5 seconds later, she's fucking him. Like it's a little.
I'm gonna walk out this door and yell rape. No, you're not.
Yeah, I mean,
rape.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. But again, I think Joe said. Might have been Mark. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But the first 45 minutes is setting up something.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote, it's a bizarre movie in that they could have reached the same destination with a much different journey at the beginning. Like, it could have been like way different at the beginning because you're still getting to that same part.
Yeah.
Which is when I actually think it takes off a little bit. I like that. I like that. But I also agree with you guys. Red's the best character. He was, the guy from Naked Gun. Love it.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that that's Juliette Lewis's dad, but I've seen him in things.
Yeah.
I've seen him in things. He's really good. So yeah, like it just, I didn't dislike it. It's just it didn't hit for me. And again, it's all totally me. It's definitely not the movie. I mean, I can see why people would love it. I think it's funny though. Clint Eastwood keeps telling Jeff Bridges how much older he is, and like, I can't do that. I'm so much older. He's 19 years older. It's like you're not like 39 years older, dude.
Yeah,
it's like, and he looks like young anyway. He's got he still has the 6-pack when he takes off his shirt. It's like, it's just funny. But I did find some things just like were like out of control, funny, like the Mad Max hitchhiker kind of like. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like I was like, what the fuck?
PETA would not have been happy with that scene today. And then there's the fight scene that is like totally
imagine if those were the rabbits from the Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
A lot of rabbits.
There's an outlandish fight scene. I thought Gary Busey cameo was great. I don't know when this happens because I just wrote down the quote, but he says, "Look, kid, go fuck a duck." Like,
that's the ice cream scene.
Yeah. That's when I thought it was going to turn into Precinct 13.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also have this line that says, "They walk in on the sex. This is so fucking bizarre."
Yeah.
And I have two. Actually, I'll touch on what we said before. I did say that this might be the start of the buddy comedy like trend, which I guess it probably was if critics were saying, "Hey, it's like homoerotic," which that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, that thing is that's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, but my only theory was if you take these scenes out, that's what they were going for. Because,
understandable. I mean, if there was a director's cut and a theatrical cut, I could understand that, I guess. Like, but
a critic's cut. Caesar J.
I have two things that have nothing really to do with the movie, but just I thought was pretty funny. Clint Eastwood in that last scene with the shades on and his hair, he's looking like Scott Weiland.
Yeah.
And you guys would probably know better than me because again, I've seen a lot of older movies, but I'm not like well versed in like 70s, 60s. I'm definitely more like 80s, like
I think we all are.
Okay, so they do the rated R thing at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
and it's the Queens of the Stone Age rated R like cover.
Yeah,
was that on a ton of movies back then, or just on this one? Oh, a lot of them. Okay, yeah. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen it before, and I'm like, whoa, that's the cover of rated R.
Yeah,
is that like because that's probably why they made it their cover. They probably saw tons of movies with that on there, and I had never seen it on a movie ever.
Yeah,
so I was like, so pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah,
but yeah, like I said, it didn't hit with me. I still had fun with it. It wasn't I didn't dislike it or anything. It just like I said, it didn't resonate as much with me, and I think that's just my fault. Those type of movies, I think they need, for me, like way more comedy or way more edge, and this is kind of like in between.
Yeah. This wasn't quite like Total Grindhouse, but it wasn't it wasn't like it wasn't lax as far as comedy or action in it.
Yeah, I could see your Tarantino comparison. Like, I'm a huge, that's my favorite director. So, but he definitely goes like 11 with everything. Like he doesn't, this is like, well, we're going to do this. We're going to do it at a 6.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's all. But no, it was, it was enjoyable. Jeff Bridges, hell yeah, get that Oscar, man. I didn't even know he won an Oscar back then. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's up to mine now.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, hold your comments.
I'm holding them.
So we have reached my selection for this week. The movie I pulled was 2019's Dr. Sleep.
When I was a kid, there was a place. A dark place. They closed it down and let it rot. But the things that lived there...
Hello, Daddy.
They come back.
Not many ride the bus this far north. You're running away from something?
I'm running away from myself, I guess.
Hi. You can hear me. You're magic. Like me.
I don't know about magic. I always called it the Shining. The world is a hungry place. A dangerous place.
These people, they hurt people like us.
These empty devils, they'll eat what shines. And they've noticed that little girl.
Wow, hi there. Get out of my head! Get out!
coming. Where are we going?
There's a place. You sure you want to do this?
I'm ready.
Yes, you run, dear. And then I will find you. And you will scream for years.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
All right, so Dr. Sleep was released in 2019. The screenplay was written by Mike Flanagan based upon the book by Stephen King. It was also directed by Mike Flanagan, starring Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and Kaylee Curran. On a budget of $55 million, it pulled in $72.4 million. The synopsis is: years following the events of The Shining, a now adult Dan Torrance must protect a young girl with similar powers from a cult known as the True Knot, who prey on children with powers to remain immortal. So, let me see here. I don't know how long I can go without Mark spoiling this because he knows my thoughts on this. So I will just come out and give you my reason right at the beginning. And that is, I hate this fucking movie.
I thought I knew too.
All right. I have one thing to say.
Okay.
I haven't seen this in a while. I have defended this film in the past. I rewatched it, and I have so many more negative notes than positive ones.
Thank you.
I know. I stand corrected. That's all I'm going to say for now.
So I will let you two because I'm gonna go off for a while.
So
I have reasons. So, Greg,
I was gonna say, do you want to start with the positives first or the
go right ahead? There were some positives of that. I saw this movie on opening night in the theater, so there were some positives.
Yeah, but hey, I saw a Scary Movie 2 opening night in the theater.
The worst of them.
Then I jumped up out of my seat and screamed at the screen after the credits rolled because I was so fucking angry. So hey, listen, you never know. Yeah. So if you know me doing the show, this is our third sequel we've done. I always watch the prior movie.
Right.
It's also our third vampire movie of the season.
Are these vampires? Are these vampires?
Yeah, they were psychic vampires.
Psychic vampires. Okay.
Yeah,
sort of like
the steam is your life essence. That's why there's
Sort of
I'll
like
get into why because I actually read the book, but yeah.
So did I. Yep.
I also wanted to touch on that because I am not a big book reader. My closest friend that is also a big cinephile is a huge book reader, so we have that difference in us. Like, he always compares something to the book, and I'm like, dude, I don't read books, like, unfortunately.
And I am fully aware, because I'm one person to say this a lot, is to make a movie different from the source material. If it was a book, you obviously have to take some liberties, because it's the same thing with like every MCU movie. You can't go straight off the exact comic book storyline because then everyone knows it's going to happen beat by beat. You have to be able to surprise your audience. So I'm not, my complaint is not they didn't do every single thing. It's just certain things, but I'll get to it.
Okay, so
the ending.
Yeah, let me ask you this question first, because we're doing Stephen King.
Yes.
Actually, it's funny because I talked about my friend who reads a lot of books and is a cinephile. He is like the biggest Stephen King fan. So, do you? I'm assuming you've both read The Shining.
Yes.
Do you like the film version of The Shining?
Yes.
Mark seems to not.
I love the film version of The Shining, but I understand that the film and the book are two totally different beasts.
Exactly.
That can be appreciated for their own merits.
Okay. Yeah. So famously, Stephen King hates the movie.
So he's actually, it's funny because if he's softened his view on it, because if you watch the Eli Roth series History of Horror, they talk about The Shining, and he said and he actually says, he's like, I can appreciate it for what it is. He's like, it reminds me of a fully restored classic car that doesn't have an engine in it.
See, my friend wrote to me the night I watched The Shining again that he understands why King hates Kubrick, but also that King loves every piece of shit adaptation of his work. So you know, it's
Stephen King likes the TV adaptation of this. So what does that tell you?
You
know something? It's not the greatest thing in the world, but I enjoy parts of it.
Yeah, so
I like Melvin Van Peebles in that series.
Yeah, he is good.
So here's where I differentiate from you guys, because again, the things that I actually go into knowing source material are so few and far between. I don't know if you guys read comic books at all.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So there's a comic book, Deadly Class. They made a TV show of it. There's a comic book, Paper Girls. Amazon made a 1-season TV show of it. These are things that I actually were aware of and read before I went into it.
Yeah.
Novels, aside from like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I genuinely I haven't read really many novels, period. I even got away with it in high school by either reading Cliff Notes or literally showing up to a test and multiple choice the shit out of it. Like I think it's, and again, this is one of my fatal flaws. Like I wish I was more of a reader. I think it's at the speed that I read, it's too slow, I think. And it really bogs me down. I own a lot of books, and many of them don't get touched, which is really stupid and sad. And you know, it's something I wish I could correct in myself. But
I've become a really big fan of audiobooks in my later years.
You know, I probably should switch to that because I drive so much. And
right.
That's how I got into them. You know, and I should really do that. But let me just come at this with just my film brain.
Okay.
Period. I actually really like this a lot. Because I feel like it's a sequel where it's telling at one point it's a regular movie divorced from, you know, you can make this movie divorced from Danny Torrance in The Overlook.
Yes.
But I think the stuff that they do bring into it from film to film is really clever.
Yes.
It's far from, you know, the actors they bring to play the old parts. To the point where I remember when I saw the movie first in the theater, I was like, wow, like the woman who plays Shelley Duvall's character is like really as bad as her in the movie. Now again, I know recently that Kubrick kind of terrorized her, and that's why.
Yeah.
And I gotta say too, rewatching The Shining on Monday, 2 days before I rewatched Dr. Sleep, she's not bad in The Shining. That's completely wrong. The fact she was nominated for a Razzie Award and then later rescinded is actually kind of a joke. I mean, I know people didn't like The Shining when it came out, so that's probably why I got on Razzie nominations and stuff, and she was part of it.
Best action figure ever, Shelley Duvall's cigarette.
she's really only bad in The Shining when she's like screaming, and it's probably because Kubrick had her screaming for hours on end. And you know, rattling her so badly that she was like,
what was that one take? He made her do it like 113 times.
And he does it all the time. Like I read stuff like, I've talked to Joe about this. I think Kubrick's 6-movie run is the best 6-movie run of all time. He disagrees with me because he doesn't like Barry Lyndon. I think that's his most underrated movie, but
it's not, I don't like it. It just kind of makes me fall asleep.
Well, it's 3 hours, and if you don't really, if you're not The Godfather and you use every single minute of 3 hours, or the new Batman where you use every single minute of 3 hours, it's, you know, you can get lost in something like that. Yeah. It's a lot of visuals and scenery and stuff that they've never done before.
Yeah.
But regardless, I remember watching Eyes Wide Shut and like not liking it at all, and I think if I revisited that, I might feel differently about it.
Yeah.
But let me go back to where I was going before. I think it's a rare sequel that really works well with the old prior material and incorporate something new into it. So I can understand if you guys have read it and you have a problem with it. Mark's already touched on the ending. My friend has also mentioned the ending to me of the book in comparison to this. So I'm just a fan of it. I think I like Danny's trajectory. Oh wait, Mark's laughing.
I'm laughing at Joe. He's having a very he's very disturbed.
Oh, he's getting mad. He's getting angry as I talk to it. I like Danny's like problems at the beginning and then resolutions. In fact, there's a shot where he goes in to talk to the guy that's running his AA.
Yes.
And you might not notice if you don't watch them back to back, but it's actually shot the exact same way that Jack Nicholson is being interviewed for his job at the Overlook.
Yes.
Yeah, but that bugged me. That bugged me.
Well, see, I think if you come into that movie not a huge Shining fan, you don't even notice it. And I didn't notice it the first time I saw Dr. Sleep. I didn't notice it.
And actually, this time around, I actually watched the director's cut, not the theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
So it had the extra stuff in it. So just some slight changes, but nothing for the better.
So I watched it too, the director's cut, and partly because I had to watch a Hooptober director's cut film.
Nice.
But I remember when I saw Dr. Sleep in the theater, Max released it and then said that we have this extended cut, director's cut, whatever they were calling it. And then when I went to go stream it, because I'll stream something before using the drive, and it's not on Max anymore because they're so broke they'll just license out everything they can.
Right.
It's on Paramount Plus, and they don't have the longer cut on there.
Yeah. Well, it's back on Max again.
I checked yesterday. It wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, because
I don't rely on streaming. I have the DVDs.
There you go. Listen, guys, look at. I have the whole DVD. I got my DVD section over here, but I try to keep it a little bit lean and mean. I try not to go crazy, but like, yeah. I was happy I got to see the extended cut. I didn't notice some differences because I haven't seen it in 5 years when I saw it in the theater. So, but
the differences are subtle for the most part, aside from the scene in the bathroom with fake
Yes.
Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
Everything else is very subtle. And if you watch the theatrical and the director back to back, which I don't really recommend, but if you do it, you see that there's some stuff in there that you're like, why would anyone in their right mind cut that out? It makes everything else so much better.
Right.
So you do think it's better? Do you think it's better then?
Yeah. Aside from that one bathroom scene, that was
okay.
That was literally just a
superfluous
copy paste of the stuff with Mr. Grady.
So let me just run down my thoughts of the movie that I liked. I think all the recreations of the early characters and settings are pretty fantastic. I know that the only scene that they reused from The Shining is the blood spilling out of the elevator.
And actually, the travel, the whole the flying scope through going over the landscape. That was from the original film. They just put a dark filter over it.
Okay, you know what's so funny too is when I watched the original Shining, I was like, "Oh man, how do they do this? Like, did they do it by helicopter?" And I have the 4K. I have a 4K.
See the helicopter shot.
And you can see the helicopter blade at the end, like just at the last scene. So I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, they did." Like I said, I thought everybody was really good at like playing older characters. I thought it was a little crazy that Danny wouldn't go to jail for pool ball bashing that dude in the face, like practically killing. Because she even says to him, "I think you killed that guy." Like, yeah, they wouldn't let you out of the bar doing that.
Yeah.
I've already noticed. I've already mentioned the scene that recreates some of The Shining. I did think it's kind of, they lose kind of like some of it. Like these kids are so gifted or supposed to be so gifted, but like if Jacob Tremblay knows every pitch coming to him when he's playing baseball, why doesn't he know he's about to be abducted by
because
people?
the True Knot are one step above them.
Okay. All right. See, this is probably where like the book might be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I always did think, even when I saw this movie in the theater, like I've never seen a kid brutally murdered the same way that they show that.
Yeah.
Like, usually they don't show that. I was like, wow, like
that
crazy.
Scene is the most gruesome scene in the book and in the movie.
Yes.
Stephen King even writes, there's a line. It's like the baseball boy died a hard death.
Yeah.
And
it's
you see that.
It's pretty shocking that they show that. Usually that doesn't happen, and it's also weird. Like at the time, Jacob Tremblay was actually breaking huge. Why would he even be in this movie in that part? It's so weird. It's
because this movie was supposed to be a huge thing. It was supposed to be a phenomenon, and it didn't turn out to be.
Oh, well, it's also when you said the box office, I was like, was that released during COVID?
No, the problem is, one of the notes that I have, the problem is they released it on November 8th. They should have released it in October.
And Halloween, jeez, I hate when they do that crap.
You know what's so funny? You mentioned that. I think it was last summer or the summer before. Disney did the Haunted Mansion, and they released it in July.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Derp.
But anyways, the last thing I have here is again, aside from all the Overlook stuff looking pretty great, recreation wise, because it must have cost a lot of money to recreate the stuff. Unless they were able to use the Overlook Hotel is still actually around, right, where they shot the movie.
No, they shot the movie on sets. They used the real
they shot it at Elstree
as a basis for the set design. But every frame of the Overlook Hotel you see in The Shining is a set.
Yeah.
Okay. And pretty great, recreation set design. Last thing I wanted to say was I know, Mark, you said you watched the Beetlejuice sequel like 3 times last time we were here. Okay. So most people's gripe with Beetlejuice is that there's so many subplots.
Yeah, it's way too many.
There's so many subplots in this movie, but
trust me, there's not as many as there should be.
Okay, but I wrote there's so many subplots that this movie wouldn't work without all the subplots. So I guess maybe there should be more if that's the beef.
Yes, there should be.
Okay. Well, I'll let you guys as avid readers and way more versed as me tear it down or whatever else. Yeah, you guys are licking your chops. I like Dr. Sleep, but again, it's from a person who only knows the Shining movie and only knows a Dr. Sleep movie. And when you sequelize something, I thought it's a pretty good landing with it, because it could be a lot worse.
I agree. It could have been an unmitigated disaster.
Yep. The same word I used for Beetlejuice. I was expecting an unmitigated disaster, and it wasn't. So okay. So go off.
Okay. Let me just start. As I mentioned before, obviously you have to take some liberties from the book to this, because obviously that was the big question going in, because in the original book of The Shining, the Overlook explodes at the end. The Overlook does not exist anymore. Mm-hmm. However, I went in with an open mind when I first saw the movie, when it came out, and I had a thought process in my mind of, okay, this is how they could still do it, because they could still pretty much take the beats from the novel and do them in the Overlook, because the climax of the novel is at a campground where the Overlook used to stand.
Yes.
Because the True Knot owns that land. And so that's why the climax happened there, because it was a big cross-country chase over to it. It wasn't just Danny going, I'm going to take you to Colorado now for no fucking reason.
So you mean the end of Dr. Sleep is...
Yes, the end of Dr. Sleep in the book, it ends up on a campground that is owned by the True Knot. The reason they're always in Winnebagos is because they're gypsies, because they have to keep moving, and they own campgrounds all over North America. So it was basically their home turf when they end up in the end. But let me back it up. There is 2 giant subplots that were eliminated from the book when they went to the movie that needed to be there for the movie to be cohesive. Number 1, you know why she calls him Uncle Dan in the movie? Because they're actually fucking related. Jack Torrance had an affair with Abra's grandmother. With Abra's grandmother, not Momo. Momo's the great grandmother, but with Abra's grandmother. So they are actually related.
But I thought that was stupid.
Still, it makes more fucking sense than a 13-year-old just hopping on a bus, meeting up with a fucking 45-year-old and going, yeah, you're my Uncle Dan. No, it actually made sense for them to be related because of the second subplot, which they removed, and that was Momo. Momo is the great-grandmother who has fucking cancer. Momo is the link that tied the whole fucking book together. What happened was Momo is sick. Momo has cancer, the great grandmother, but she's the grandmother that raised her mom because the mom wasn't around, yada, yada, yada. And Momo was the first one to notice Abra shine, this, that, and the other thing. And basically what happens is when after they find out they're related, because it's not like, it's not a span of like 3 days of we met and now this shit's happening. It's a span of months where they find out they're related, this, that, and the other thing. Momo needs to go in a hospice, so they send her to the place where Danny works so he can be there for her end-of-life care. And the whole reason is because the boxes that he creates, what happens is because Momo's cancer was so fucking bad, what happens is when Momo dies, she's still holding on to the cancer, and they box that up because Momo is one of the ghosts that helps at the end. But they completely fucking annihilated that, where they were just mentioned Momo once, where she's like, I'm going to see Momo because she's sick again. I'm like, she needs to be in this fucking movie. Yeah. Like, bro, because, and so that goes back to just the basis of the Overlook. So I'm like, okay, so the Overlook's still there. So you very well could have done it where you could have come up with a better reason for them to end up in Colorado. Like, the Shrunat owns the land. No one knows, but the Shrunat owns the land. They fucking go in there. And just the movie, I need to back it up. The movie starts falling apart at the halfway point. The moment they first meet is when it starts falling apart. Because
when Abra and Dan meet?
When Abra and Dan meet is when it starts falling apart. Like, it starts hitting only certain points of the story from then, but it just goes spanning out of control. Because like the whole thing of like, because when Abra and Dan meet in the book, and they want to help each other. It's not Dan shunning her off, going, "Don't let anyone know you shine." Blah 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 blah. It's a very natural relationship. And then they go, and it's like they did the whole ambush scene with the fucking with the stuffed animal and shit. That was straight out the book, which was good until the part where Dan's friend freaking offs himself because Snake Bed Andy tells him to. That's not in the book. He doesn't fucking die. And then they go and Crow Daddy kills her husband. That kills the father. The father doesn't fucking die. Like, I was just like, you're just doing this for the sake of having a body count. And then but then the whole thing where he inhabits her and everything like that was in the book, but it takes over it's basically, it happens later on when they're at a gas station and he's able to take control. And it's a whole bunch of stuff. But they're like, oh, we got to speed this up because this movie's already going along. We got to get to the Overlook because that's what everyone wants, even though that's what nobody wanted. And what happened was, the moment we got to the Overlook, what happened was Stephen King took the screenplay and the last 30 pages and just ripped it out of the fucking binding and took the last 30 pages of the novel of the show and went, here, do this instead.
Including the burning down of the hotel, which did not happen in the original.
I'm sorry, but the boiler, except for half a sentence, and the fact that the boiler needs to be checked every X amount of time, was never mentioned in the Kubrick's Shining. Never, ever, ever. That was strictly from the fucking book. That was it. So, but it's like, so Danny's going to go in and, the boiler, so that way the place could set fire and could explode. It's like, no. And this is my fucking note. This is my fucking note. Let me find it. Oh, going back, one of the other, when I knew it was going off the rails was when Rose the Hat goes to get into Abra's head, and then Abra gets in her head, and I went, don't you know you never go full Dreamcatcher? Because the files, that was fucking Dreamcatcher. That wasn't in fucking Dr. Sleep.
You're right. Oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't even catch on to that.
Yep, exactly. And so then we get there. We get Danny, and he walks up, and I said, and then we get this third-rate dime store, second runner-up in a Jack Nicholson lookalike contest at the fucking county fair, son of a bitch.
Hey, I actually have to comment on that. When I saw Dr. Sleep in the movie theater,
mm-hmm.
I don't know where I got this impression or where I read this or I thought my friend told me this or something. I thought Jack Nicholson's character was played by Wyatt Russell. and then when I was like, oh, Wyatt Russell's in it, I'm looking forward to seeing him play Jack Torrance again. And he came on screen and I'm like, wait a minute. That's in no way Wyatt Russell. I don't know why I ever thought that.
No, that was the kid from E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I'm like, yeah, they got it. They didn't give Danny Lloyd a fucking cameo in this movie.
Yeah, they did.
They did? Where was he?
Danny Lloyd, who played Danny in The Shining. He's the guy at the baseball game and says, "See that kid over there? He knows. It's like he almost knows it's coming."
Oh, I didn't even realize that was Danny Lloyd.
Him.
Okay, so he did get a cameo. Okay, so I can't bitch about that. Okay, but then, so here's the big thing. In the climax of the novel, at the campground where the Overlook was, and it's more than just Rose that's left. There's two ambushes that happen. There's the one that happened in the movie, and then there's another one with the rest of the True Knot. It wasn't just everyone gets offed and then it's just Rose.
Right.
It was Rose and Snake Bite Annie and a couple other people. And there's this whole fucking sequence that plays out, and the ghosts that help them are Momo and the ghost of Jack Torrance. Jack Torrance, because the whole thing is, it's a fucking redemption story where Jack is able to help them for the evil that he's been dealing with from the fucking Overlook for his whole fucking life that led him to fucking drinking, where he helps him, and then you see the fucking silhouette, the fucking fading silhouette of Jack Torrance smile at his son and wave and fade away. And it's a wonderful fucking feeling. That whole fucking scene where Danny Torrance is getting his 8-year chip, that's at the end of the fucking movie. It's supposed to be at the end of the fucking movie. You know why? Because Danny Torrance isn't supposed to fucking die.
Yeah.
Danny is supposed to fucking live because he is supposed to stay on to help Abra deal with her shit, because in the fucking epilogue of the fucking book, he is at Abra's 14th birthday party because he's Uncle Dan, and they're like, she's been going out of control. Shit's been going nuts. The China cabinet exploded the other day, and he's supposed to be there to help her way through it. And then he goes, and he actually, I think it's his 10-year chip he gets in the book. But because the whole fucking thing was supposed to be a redemption story for Dan Torrance, that doesn't mean you fucking kill him off.
Yeah, I guess they weren't really thinking about a part 3.
What? They were supposed to make a fucking standalone Abra Stone movie.
Really?
Yeah, no, but this movie didn't fucking make enough money, so they said no.
Thank heavens.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I know you can't undo it because you've read the book, but do you think if you hadn't read the book, you would watch the movie and think something differently of it?
No, because even if I hadn't read Dr. Sleep, I would still know that was the ending of the Shining book that was just fucking paperweighted onto this. Because it was the boiler explodes and everyone dies. I'm like, that's what happened. Because you see that in the ABC miniseries.
So it's sort of like the Superman 2 Donner cut ending to Superman 1. Like,
yes!
they use the same ending because okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sitting there watching it, and I was just like, you know something? I watched it again and I realized, I'm like, you know something? They missed out on a fortune. They could have sold a commemorative fucking Blu-ray of this with this as the cover.
Wow. Man, Kubrick dead 25 years. That is wild.
Yeah, but that was literally Stephen King going, I'm going to take a piss on Stanley Kubrick's grave because he ruined my baby, and I've been holding a 40-year fucking grudge.
Oh, it's the book, Dr. Sleep, the book felt like an FU.
Yeah.
To Stanley Kubrick for sure.
Yeah, but at least because like Dr. Sleep, the novel was probably was my favorite King novel since Pet Sematary.
Really?
Like, I fucking loved it, and I could not wait for that fucking movie to come out. And I was just, and then the biggest disappointment. Oh,
I understand it. Again, like, as a person who doesn't really read a lot of source material stuff, it's tough for me to.
And here's the fucking kicker. Here's the fucking kicker, because I literally yelled this in the theater. Okay, so we all remember in the first movie how they said once it starts snowing, the road's closed and no one can get up here.
Oh yes.
Number one, how did they drive up there if the road was closed? Number two, it is like an hour away from the nearest fucking town.
Yep.
How is it the moment the place starts burning, there's fire trucks coming around the fucking hill?
We're in the middle of
called them?
We're in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, and they show up Yeah, so that bugged me.
Not only that, but the place has been sitting there abandoned for 40 fucking years. Danny walks in and like, I thought it was cool. I was like, the spirits are making lights come on. I'm like, that's cool. Then he goes in and he starts flicking the high voltage system. I'm like, why would there be electricity going to a fucking place that was abandoned 40 fucking years ago?
No, what bugged me is that Dan, he breaks into this building just by pulling the front doors open.
Yeah.
And then he goes into this dark hotel, no flashlight, no light source, to go find the boiler room. How is he going to get there?
Right.
I actually, with suspension of disbelief, would think that it's been, I don't know, 40 years? Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah.
So like maybe the roads are now drivable just because like they make some different advancements or they actually clear roads. I could understand that.
Right, but they still showed the car going up there in the middle of the fucking night and there's nothing else in sight.
They're in the middle of nowhere, man. They are in the middle of nowhere.
But let me say this though, like even if I give that suspension of disbelief and I'll let that pass, it's clear that they no longer have anyone watching the Overlook during the winter or even at all. I don't know if it was even at all.
No, it was boarded up. It was abandoned after Jack Torrance.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense to like there be anything
right
in there. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I'll forgive the roads. Like, okay, maybe 40 years later, maybe they can clear it or whatever. They do it. They have more going on up there. I don't know. Whatever. I'll forgive that. But I totally agree with you on the building itself. Like, I when he entered it, I was like, well, I guess they have no person watching it for the winter anymore. And no, it's it probably should just crumble to the ground by itself.
Yeah, there should have been some mold in there.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't even
collapse ceiling.
It didn't even look like it was dirty.
Faded wallpaper.
Yeah, it didn't even look dirty or anything.
Like, because that's the problem was Jack Torrance dies and Wendy takes off and the doors are left open to the elements in a blizzard. Who knows when the fuck they got back up there to fucking be like, well, we're shutting this place down for good.
No maintenance for 40 years.
Right. Yeah, and it's still pristine. Like, remember how Wendy ran through and there was the Scooby-Doo cobwebs everywhere just for 1 second? That's how it should have looked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking about why it was in the book, it was not set during the winter. Am I right?
No, it wasn't.
The ending, even though it was not in the Overlook, it was on the Overlook grounds. I thought it was during like the summer.
Yeah, it did.
So the only reason that these filmmakers made it winter is so it could directly reference the imagery of The Shining.
Right. Yep.
And this is why, it's another reason why it's so stupid. They leave Abra, she's the only person alive at the end in the movie.
Yep.
The reason why they have those emergency vehicles coming is because they realized, oh, she's the only one left alive. She's out in the middle of nowhere. She's going to freeze to death in 48 hours. And they had to figure out a way like, oh, no, help's coming. She'll be fine.
Right. Out of nowhere.
Yep.
Because it's not like they even because remember, she tossed the cell phone out the window in fucking Ohio.
Yep.
So there's no track my phone going on. There's no unless they didn't film the scene where Dan calls and says Overlook Hotel, Colorado, and hangs up. Like,
right.
It makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. On top of it, like they could have done the ending of the book with the Overlook intact, with the same kind of thing, with the ghost and everything, without the knockoff Jack Nicholson and without the hotel possessing Danny. Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
I actually agree with the Jack Nicholson. I don't like it only because he's not the bartender. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like
it makes even less sense because of the fact that Lloyd Grady is one of the fucking ghosts that gets escaped from a box.
Exactly. It doesn't. That part that's like just okay. Let's get a Jack Nicholson in here and it talks to his dad. That doesn't.
It's like, if you're either going to get Jack Nicholson or you're fucking not. There was no reason to have him in there. You could have easily taken fucking stock footage of Nicholson smiling from something like Cuckoo's Nest and made it in a fucking transparent fade to do the wave at the end.
Yeah, or they just show this,
or just footage from The Shining. Yeah,
you just do the picture again or whatever. I mean, that's weird. It was weird. That's the only thing that struck me because I'm like, okay, he's going to the bar now. The bartender is his dad instead
and
of the other guy.
And the director's cut made less sense because in the theatrical cut, it's what happens is he says, "Take your medicine," and then Danny flings it, and then the Jack Nicholson knockoff starts chasing him. Where in this one, he's like, "Oh, let me clean you up because I need to redo the Lloyd Grady scene." Like, no, that's not how this fucking works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my. I didn't like that either.
Like it was. Oh, it was just
aside from the fact that it wasn't. Aside from the fact that it wasn't Wyatt Russell.
I think Wyatt Russell would have turned that down, they would have been like, "We want you to play Jack Nicholson." He would have been like, "No, you either get Jack or you don't."
Yeah,
or at least Christian Slater.
It was 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago. He probably would have taken it.
No, he's completely retired.
No, Wyatt Russell.
Oh, Wyatt Russell. Yeah. I thought you meant Jack. It's like Jack is completely retired.
Oh yes. He's been retired for a long time, other than getting ladies and going to Laker games.
Going to see the Lakers. Dude, he was going to see the Lakers when he was still doing movies. That was like a clause in like so many of his contracts was he had to have Lakers games off.
He's the white Spike Lee, man.
Well, guys,
he's made better movies than Spike Lee.
I've got a couple of notes I want to blow through. We're running kind of long. We're already at almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
that's
I'm looking for my jar.
When there's a lot of hate, you can take a lot of time.
Yep. So the first thing I wrote is I'm going to do this quick.
It's right here in front of me.
This movie had, for all its faults, it did have two very specific and extremely difficult jobs to do in its defense. And that was to be a competent and effective film adaptation of a admittedly very weird Stephen King book, Dr. Sleep. And B, to act as the cinematic follow-up to one of the most iconic and revered horror movies of all time. Those are two very tall orders. And I think we were, from a purely business and financial standpoint, we were never going to get a shining sequel that didn't shove references to the Kubrick film down our throats every 2 minutes. It's just too tempting not to tap into that sweet, sweet intellectual property money. You know what I'm saying?
I think that middle scene in Ready Player One did a better adaptation of The Shining than this.
And
movie.
that was totally CG. Yeah. They didn't have to build a single set for that.
You get the music right off. The first thing you hear is you get this thing right away. So,
but I think, and the director Mike Flanagan, I like
Mike Flanagan.
I like him, but this movie looks like shit, you guys. This is flat. It looks like a Netflix series.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me pause now, real quick. And again, that's a run too long. But I actually thought that I heard Joe say he didn't like Mike Flanagan. I guess you.
No,
do.
I like Mike Flanagan.
Okay.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Okay, but Flanagan does. What does he do? Mainly Netflix things.
Netflix stuff.
Why wouldn't it look like Netflix?
Yeah, but I mean, he also did Oculus, and Oculus looks better than this.
He did.
This is so uncinematic, you guys. There's nothing here. It's really boring to watch, like visually for me. You mentioned the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack did a lot to build tension and like an overall ominous tone, even when there's nothing ominous going on. It's just always kind of there. Be like a guy eating a sandwich. And it's like, I didn't mind that because I like atmosphere and stuff. But again, what I'm watching is just so flat and unattractive.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
While you search for the next thing.
Yeah.
Are you guys Ewan McGregor fans?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to know because I like him in general. I like him in this.
How tempting do you think it was for him when he was on the stairs with the bat or the axe and what's her name's coming up the stairs for him not to be like,
light up my life.
I have the high ground. All I can think. All right. I like the hospice stuff.
Yes.
That was good in the book. It was good here.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stuff in there that I actually just read a book about death and dying and hospice and stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff about what you see in the movie, like visioning, they call it, when you see a loved one or something as you're dying. And there's a thing with pets where pets will come to your bed and stay near you. And so that's stuff you don't see in movies a lot. I like
great.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Rose the Hat's RV camper is like the camper in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, where it looks normal size on the outside, but when we cut to the inside, it's a gigantic mansion.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Is that part of her like mystical powers?
No, that's just bad cinematography.
You could not tow that. You couldn't tow that thing down as one street, let alone across the country.
Can I touch on Rose the Hat though for a second?
Yeah.
I neglected to talk about this when we none of us have talked about it. Rebecca Ferguson is great.
Yes, she is.
Yeah,
she's great.
Yeah,
she's great in everything, but she's great.
Right, because I wasn't sure, like, when they were saying they were going to make this movie, like, for me, before they actually cast this movie, reading Dr. Sleep, there was only one person I could ever see playing Rose the Hat in my mind, and that was Cher.
Oh, okay.
But Rebecca Ferguson did it well.
Knowing the character just from the movie, I can see why you say that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I thought she was great, but I wish they would have given her a better catchphrase than just "Hello there." Like, stupid.
Yeah.
I have a big problem with the gore because it should have been practical effects, and CGI is all over this movie, and it sucks. It's lame. It sucks. It's ineffective.
Yes.
Can we touch on that real quick again?
Yeah.
Not to run long, but
the only reason it's CGI gore is because with CGI you can take it out for the MPAA without cutting the scene.
What's the parts that it is CG like
the entire murder scene of the baseball boy, because in the theatrical was PG-13.
Fake blood. Right. Well, that part didn't bother me as much. It was stuff like the ending where Rose the Hat where the ghosts from the Overlook are killing Rose the Hat, and they've got their fingers underneath her skin and stuff like that. I'm like, that looks like shit. Are you kidding me? Who approved this?
Which is weird because, like, when Grandpa Flicks cycles out, that actually looked halfway decent. And then when everyone else cycles out, I'm just like, it's on fast forward.
I actually had, that was the biggest problem of the movie for me, being like, you know, like I said, and not a person who read the book, movie wise, the part where he just gets her into the Overlook quick, ghosts come out fast, kill her. It's just like, it's too quick. It's just too,
right.
So I've got two more things.
Yep.
This bugged the hell out of me, you guys. When Ewan McGregor is in the Overlook, he gets to the bedroom where Jack Nicholson famously took that axe to the bathroom door and said, "Here's Johnny," and all that. In the Shining film, at one point, that scene cuts to Dick Halloran arriving at the Overlook in the snow. And then after a minute with him, it cuts back to the bathroom scene.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see now that Jack has continued to chop that door down entirely, despite Wendy slicing his hand with the knife. He keeps going.
Right.
And now most of the upper half of that door is obliterated.
Right. But in this,
Dan,
it's just a little bit.
That one little slot. So guess what, guys? So he can go, here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Come on. That
like, it made sense. It made sense for him to do it to the outer door because Jack only did enough into that to reach in and fucking undo it.
Right.
But the bathroom, like the bathroom door, there was no reason. Yeah.
Right.
They want to show you the same scene.
And it felt cheap. It felt stupid. It felt like this movie that faithfully recreates every square inch of this hotel can't get their shit together enough to be like, oh no, that door should be gone. So let's just not put a door there at all. That drove me crazy, guys.
Yes.
As well as, this is my last note. Why doesn't the party goer in the Overlook with the wound on his head with the drink, why doesn't he have a British accent?
Right.
Come on. You mean that never came up in the casting? Right. Okay, we needed an older British man, bald, looks like this or whatever. He's got to say this line. All right, now say the line. And the guy goes, "What a great party. You got the job. I love it."
Terrible.
What did you eat? It pissed me off so much, the last two things I've complained about, that it actually made me wonder if the director even gave a shit at all the entire time.
I honestly think Mike Flanagan did give a shit, but the thing was, and when it got to the third act, Stephen King pulled his creative control card and said, "This is what you're doing." And so by that point, Mike Flanagan went, "What the fuck can I do? Stephen King's telling me this is what has to happen." Because that's the thing, is King had creative control over this fucking movie.
I think Flanagan might be a bigger fan of King than my friend. So he's gonna literally do whatever he wants.
Right.
What else have you guys seen from Mike Flanagan as far as
Oculus?
I don't know that one.
It was low budget, but it was very well done. It's about a haunted mirror.
Okay.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. I'm trying to think of what else.
I saw The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it good?
It's hit or miss. It's like this. It's like there's parts where you're like, oh, this isn't doing anything for me at all. And then there's like a couple of scenes where I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of creepy. That's my.
I sort of had the same. I sort of had the same reaction to the only other thing I've seen of.
Oh, needed Absentia. I forgot.
I've only seen one other thing of Flanagan's, and that was The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes, that's right. The one he did in 2023. Yeah,
I really liked it a lot. But you're right. It's got high points. It's got
and he did Gerald's Game. The other Stephen King movie he did was Gerald's Game.
Oh, see, now I love that.
Yeah.
I forgot he did that. I loved that film.
Yeah. He also did a movie I've wanted to watch for a long time called Hush.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I could see how he's like maybe a little bit hit or miss. I do have to tell you guys, he's probably going to have a movie nominated for Best Picture this year.
Really?
Yeah, he directed The Life of Chuck, which is apparently a Stephen King adaptation. I asked my friend if he's ever read The Life of Chuck. He said yes. It stars Tom Hiddleston, and it won the Audience Award at Toronto International Film Festival.
Okay.
The last 12 movies to win the Audience Award at TIFF have been nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, wow.
So it is a chance he breaks the streak, and it's not. But, 12 years running.
Well, I would see that because based on Gerald's Game, I completely forgot he did that, and I loved that film so much. I would watch another Stephen King adaptation of his, but
yeah, he does a lot of them.
I just think this one sucked.
Yeah, I understand. Listen, like I said, I mean, as a guy who doesn't read novels a lot, it's tough for me it's even tough for me to enter this conversation because you guys have an aspect that I don't have. So I'm looking at it.
No, but you've got a great perspective because you're looking at it just from a viewer.
Right.
So there's still value to that.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I mean, I think for the most part, it really works when you look at it just from the Shining movie aspect. But I even understand like what Joe said, like why does she call him uncle and whatever. To me, they did it enough because like he always talking to her in whatever interdimensional or whatever,
right?
Whatever and her dad comes up to her like, "Why are you rolling up to my house? I'm gonna
exactly
kill you."
Like that. There was such a disconnect there where I was just like, "This isn't in the book." Like, in the book, like,
So,
he gets brought in as family.
But you have to do that because if he's only talking to her in her mind, and then some old dudes just roll up and you're like, hey, come with us.
Yeah.
Your dad's going to be like, I'm going to kill you. So I get it. But yeah. Like I said, going forward, anything that has an adaptation, I probably haven't.
Yeah. God. And something I realized I forgot to do for every movie today? I forgot to say where people could see them. So real quick.
Oh, right.
That's all right. I still got the stuff here. So real quick, if you are interested in seeing everything you wanted to know about sex, but we're afraid to ask, it's currently available for free on Dailymotion, which I will leave the link to below, Pluto TV, Fubo, Prime Video, and also for rent on Roku channel and YouTube. If you are interested in seeing Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, it is currently available on Pluto TV, Tubi, and for rent on Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Amazon. And if you are interested in seeing Dr. Sleep, so my references said it's still on HBO Max, but it may not be. It's also available on Fubo TV, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, or for rent on Apple TV. So yes. Oh God. Yeah, this is a marathon episode. But I will be completely honest with you. Dr. Sleep was the reason I came up with the idea for this podcast.
Really?
because I was thinking, like, it was what I mentioned right at the beginning, how most times you see movie reviews from things and it's about movies that they talk about, that's like either they review bad movies for a living, so that's why they do it, or they just talk about movies they like. No one ever goes into a reason they hate a movie. And I have had such a loathing for this movie, like brewing for 5 years. And it all came to the surface when I rewatched it.
I don't know if you mentioned it in passing, but I just knew, I knew your feeling somehow. I just knew it. I was like, yeah, I know it. So, yeah. I do have to say, not to reveal my poker face either, but it takes a lot for me to hate a movie. If you look at my Letterboxd ratings, like 2 is like bad for me. 2 out of 5 is really bad for me. Like I rarely are like a 1 or whatever. I have to actively hate something. I'm usually in that like 3 to. It's also hard. It's also really hard for me to even give anything 5. So I'm in that like
middle ground.
I'm in 6 to 8 range, like a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, but yeah, no. I mean, hey, again, that's why an episode is 2 hours, because you have a lot of hate on it. And hate another movie. You had 2 movies to hate today, so you're good.
Yeah. All right, so let's choose our poison for the next episode, gentlemen. I'm gonna shake up the skull from Mo Tussin.
I have to say, I think the remaining are all going to be much more well received, I hope.
Poker face. All right, Mark, what did you draw?
I drew 2019's The Fanatic.
Mm-hmm. Greg, what did you draw?
Sorry.
Poker face, dude.
I know. I had drawn 1982's The King of Comedy.
And my pull was 2018's Sorry to Bother You. I will put those in the queue, gentlemen. And let's have a hearty good couple of weeks going into the horror movie season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find time to watch these, because I'm gonna be watching horror movie a day at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to span my shit out.
Right after we get off this call, this pod, I'm gonna send you my Hooptober list. You can peruse and say good job, or what the fuck are you thinking, dude? I'm 7 movies in already. 7 out of 31.
Damn.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah, I don't start until next week. I gotta get through the Mum Festival this weekend first. Then I can start jumping on shit.
Yeah, I think they do it from the 15th to October 31st, because asking normal people to like watch 31 movies in 31 days is a little bit, I mean, yeah. I'll fucking do it, but
Yeah. So. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Wildcard Cinema. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy yourselves. Have a good watch of a movie. Devise your own list for October, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take it easy, guys.
Later.
Right in the face. Gotta get yourself together, darling. Join the human race.